Hey, it feels different, right?
Hello and welcome to the 5th episode of Fantasy Sports. Today I want to be covering some fantasy football. I received a lot of attention on my last 3 videos, so I wanted to keep it up with something interesting and that's going on. Obviously I did baseball, then NBA free agency, and then I focused a little bit on the trade deadline. None of my trades that I predicted would happen actually wound up happening, or any of the players that I wanted to get traded. Nothing happened. Jay's got a couple good guys, but other than that, I wasn't too impressed. Obviously, Verlander. The Mets blew everything up pretty much, but they got some good prospects. They got Acuna's brother. They got everything, that you would want to see from a team that's, looking to be good in 3-4 years, and that's what they said they're focusing on for the future. But yeah, with that being said, I think we should get right into my first top 10. I have definitely a little bit of an interesting take this year. I feel like when it comes to fantasy football, I'm trying something a little new with my top 10. And this doesn't have anything to do with, I just think this is genuinely not like me being like, oh, I'm trying something new, but I think this is how it should really look when it comes down to top 10. I've changed up my thoughts and what I want to see out of the players nowadays and what I think works and what doesn't. So in my top 10, I actually only have 4 running backs, and I have 5 receivers in Travis Kelce. I'll start with number 1, Justin Jefferson. I think at this point, it's pretty understated what Justin Jefferson has done. I don't think people really people realize how good it's been, but since his first year in the league, he has been wide receiver 15 or up, and then he was wide receiver 10 or up, and now he was wide receiver 1 last year. It's pretty much a no-brainer pick. I think at this point, when you look at what he does on a level of statistics that's like game to game, he's never gonna have a bad game unless it's like a Kirk Cousins game, he's never gonna have a bad game. Last year he had 1 game under 10 points, and that was against, or 2 games under 10 points, one being against the Eagles, and I forget the other one, but it was pretty much 2 of the top defenses in the league. Obviously, this team is worse, their defense is worse. Kirk Cousins is a good throwing quarterback. They picked up another guy better than Adam Thielen, so all the pressure is not that the pressure wasn't on Justin Jefferson last year, it clearly was, and now that the pressure is still on him, I think it can be taken a little back, with the new addition of Addison and, the removal of Dalvin Cook adds a little more to him. But yeah, he's still going to get his fair share of targets. He's still going to be the leading receiver in the league, and I'm super impressed with what he's done and what he's going to continue to do. So I'm looking for a number 1 season coming out of Justin Jefferson, which I should have picked him last year over Najee Harris, but we won't get into that. Number 2, I'm sticking with the same thing that I've been trying to say. I think wide receiver is the way to go this year, and I'm saying Cooper Kupp. They're a bad team. They're not a great team. Cooper Kupp got 10 targets when they were winning, so when they're losing and they're going to be throwing the ball, I definitely won't get 10 more targets every single game. He obviously had a record-breaking season, Matthew Stafford. I think Matthew Stafford's still pretty good. I do think he's a shell of what he was 2 years ago, just with the injuries and how, he's aged. But I still think, at the end of the day, it's Matthew Stafford, and when he was on the Lions, you saw what Calvin Johnson did. And at this point, they're not competing for a championship with how bad their team is, so I think he'll still get his fair share of yards, targets. And it's just at this point, when you look at the other wide receivers, there's no value in what they bring other than their ability and, obviously what their team is. I think Cooper Kupp's sole liability or sole standing out ability is the fact that he will get the ball thrown to him almost 17 times a game, or he can get 20 targets a game. I wouldn't be shocked if he's one of the first wide receivers to get the most targets ever. It's just the way it is with that offense, and they don't run. They're not a run first, they're a pass first, and it's just overall, I expect Cooper Kupp to have a monster volume season, whether or not it's a good season. He should at least be getting 15 points per game. Number 3, this is where my first running back comes in, and Christian McCaffrey. I was going to put Austin Eckler there. Austin Eckler or Christian McCaffrey. I have Christian McCaffrey just because he's the better player. He's on the better team with a better offensive line and the better coach. I know the Chargers changed their offensive coordinator, and I know that is a big factor of why I'm big on Justin Herbert this year. But I still think you got to stick with Christian McCaffrey being the number one running back. It's hard to argue that he's not. When you look at what he did with the 49ers in the second half of the season, it was spectacular. And even what he was doing in the first half of the season with the Carolina Panthers, it's super impressive to see. I don't see his volume slowing down. I know Eli Mitchell's coming back, and a lot of people think that's going to wind up adjusting the way they do things. But if anything, that changes nothing. That'll just mean they're running more. Right now they have a QB, distribution. A QB quarterback room issue with Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, what's his name, Brock Purdy. They don't know who they're going to go with. Obviously, you heard comments yesterday about how Sam Darnold's going to revitalize his career. Obviously, I don't think they're going to stick with Sam Darnold. But you never know what that Kyle Shanahan's going to do. So that's why I think Christian McCaffrey is the one sole guy on that team that you do know what he's going to do, and that's run the ball. So that's why I'm liking Christian McCaffrey at 3 this year. And then number 4, I have Tyreek Hill. I was going to put Tyreek Hill over Cooper Kupp just because I think Tyreek Hill is going to have a monster season. I think this is Tua's proof-it year. I'm liking him a lot. I'm thinking Tyreek's going to be the best player this year. I got to stick with my gut and go a little more on the safer side with my top 3. But I think Tyreek Hill is going to have one of those years. When Tua was healthy, he looked like one of the best wide receivers, quarterback duo in the entire league. You obviously saw what Tua could do against bad defenses. And it was looking scary, man, with Waddle, him, and Tua, and all the offensive weapons. And it's only seemed like they've gotten better. Obviously, they had a year under their belt with Mike, and so I'm thinking that Tyreek Hill and the offense, that they're gonna go with that sling it West Coast big deep play action offense, and I think they're gonna continue to not run the ball as much as they did last year after Tua got hurt. So I'm super excited to see what happens over there, and I'm gonna have to stick with Tyreek at 4. Number 5, like I just said, Austin Eckler. They got a new offensive coordinator. Obviously, he was holding out, but then he wound up committing to the team. I'm really excited for what he can do. When it comes down to what he's produced in the past 2 seasons, it's remarkable. Obviously, after Melvin Gordon left, Austin Eckler took over, and I felt like he'd always had the ability to take over from when I watched the games back when I had Melvin Gordon. He always stepped in, and I swear I would always say to my dad, man, why can't Melvin Gordon get 10 yards like Austin Eckler gets 10 yards? They say it on live TV, and I say it all the time, man, he's small, but, man, he will absolutely run you over for an extra 4 or 5 yards every single time. His catching ability, with the amount of they pass, he always has the ability to go out there and get 10-plus receptions, and they're super huge in PPR. I would argue that almost Austin Eckler's value in PPR is a little above Christian McCaffrey's this year. But on a base level, honestly, it's not like a far RB1, RB2 thing for me and Austin Eckler. I think he's exceptional, Austin Eckler, and I think, with the addition of Justin Herbert getting paid, they obviously drafted the rookie out of TCU. Mike Williams is going to be healthy. Keenan's in the back end of his career. I'm really liking what Austin Eckler can wind up bringing to the table, so I'm super excited for that. For my number 6, this is a little bit of a different take. I'm going to be Bijan Robinson. Rookie running backs tend to finish top 15 in running back or top 15 in scoring. Top 10 in running back, top 15 in scoring when it comes to the rookie year. He's on a run-first team with a bad team, with a team that dominated the ground last year, and they've only gotten better when it comes to running. I think it's extremely impressive what the coach has been able to do with such a bad roster. So I think, adding a talent like Bijan, Desmond Ridder, a young quarterback, it'll be a team that might not be that good. Obviously, you expect them to stop the run, the defenses, but you never know what's going to wind up happening. So I'm super excited to see what he winds up doing in his rookie year. It's not a lot you could say because obviously you don't know. He averaged upwards of 4.5 yards per carry in college. He looks great in practice, and, from what I've seen, it seems like he's going to be that guy. Tyler Algier last year put up over 1,000 yards, and he's not that good of a running back. And Bijan's probably the best running back prospect that we've seen in a very long time. So I'm super excited to see what we got coming from him. Number 7, it was Ja'Marr Chase. I'm going to stick with it. Although Joe Burrow went down, he's still Ja'Marr Chase. He's been able to do it season in, season out. Since he's gotten to the league, he's been one of the best wide receivers fantasy-wise when he's playing. Obviously, he had a little injuries last year. But he always gets the targets. He's a deep play ball. His deep ball ability is always unmatched. He's super fast. He can get in the end zone. He's more of a red zone target than T. Higgins at this point. So I'm super excited to see what he does. Although the Joe Burrow injury, I still think he'll be fine. And then to wrap it up, because I don't want to spend too much time on these last three, because it's kind of actually I'll spend some time on this one. Davante Adams, I have at number 8. I have Davante Adams at number 8 just because I feel like he always overperforms. They have him ranked like a lot of people have him ranked in 12 to 15 range this year. Jimmy Garoppolo is a very solid quarterback. You could argue he's almost on the level of Derek Carr or just a little under. Davante Adams had almost one of his best years of all time last year. So to argue that Davante Adams should be lowerly ranked than he was last year is kind of stupid. You see Davante Adams, he's one of those receivers that makes his quarterback better. Obviously, the Raiders kind of suck. Unfortunately, they lost Darren Waller, Mac Hollins, and they only have Josh Jacobs and Jimmy G, and their offensive line sucks. So that's a big reason why it's a question mark of what he's going to do in this upcoming year, especially with such a stacked, division and, who's going to be facing. But with all that said, so what? He's still Davante Adams. You could argue he's the second or first best wide receiver, period, when it comes to outside of fantasy. So to argue that he should be anything lower than the 4th ranked wide receiver, it's kind of stupid. So I'm just going to stay, or 5th receiver, it's kind of dumb. I'm just going to stick with, he's a top 3 real life. I would say he's top 5 from fantasy. And then Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes. Nothing else that really needs to be said there. Obviously, the best tight end, arguably one of the best players we've seen in the past decade. And then at number 10, I have Saquon. And I put Saquon there just because I very much like people on contract years. Obviously, they offered him a 1-year prove-it deal. I think Saquon really is going to go out there and show what he can do. I'm taking that gamble on him. I think that the team as a whole has gotten better. I don't think they're going to want to hold him back. And I think, if anything, they just want to use Saquon for the next year. I mean, why would they not try to get as much use out of him, in the 1-year contract that they just signed as they could. So I'm super excited to see what he can do in a contract year, see if he can put it all together. Hopefully he doesn't get injured. But I'm very excited for this upcoming fantasy football year. I hope you guys like my top 10. I know Stephon Diggs isn't in there. I don't know who else I forgot. There's a couple guys I might not have put in there that you guys would have wanted to see. But I'm very happy with what I put out for my top 10. Obviously Nick Chubb, people like that. But I really think this is a solid top 10. I think these are top 10 players, regardless of order, however you want to draft them. This is the top 10 prospects that you should have looking up for this upcoming season. Little sleeper I have with DeAndre Swift. I think he's going to take a step up on that Philly Eagles offense. And I think if you can get him in the 6th round, that's a no-brainer, flex guy. Just because he'll have those upside weeks. And honestly, he could wind up winning that starting job and holding it very strongly over injury-prone Rashad Penny. I know Rashad Penny's been exceptional when he's healthy, but he's never healthy. So I'm super excited to see what this upcoming football season has. And I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know anything you want me to talk about in the upcoming weeks. So yeah, super excited for the next coming episode. And thank you as always. Thank you.